can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Wise here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Today is no different. I have Jason Fishman. You can check him out at digitalnicheagency.com. They call him DNA. Love it, Jason. And before I formally introduce you, I always like to point out other episodes of the podcast people should check out. You know, this is interesting because he has a really cool niche, which you'll see, of helping top investor, basically connecting in our investor and user acquisition agency. And so that reminds me of Stephen Hoffman. I don't know if you've had him on your podcast, Jason, but he's got like a global startup accelerator with over 50,000 entrepreneurs and members, maybe at this point more than that in 22 countries. So that episode's a good one. Also, I'm sure you know Howard Marks. He was on the podcast, who's a co-founder of Start Engine. And Jason helps a lot of people be successful on Start Engine and websites like Start Engine. That was a really good interview on how they connect investors with the next tomorrow's progressive companies. And basically, Jason pours fuel on that fire. So check those out on more on InspiredInsider.com. This episode is brought to you by Rise25. At Rise25, we help businesses connect to their dream relationships and partnerships. We do that in a few ways. One, we're an easy button for a company to launch and run a podcast. Jason has a podcast. Many successful people I know have a podcast. We do the strategy, the accountability, and the full execution and production behind the scenes. Number two, we're an easy button for a company's gifting. So we make gifting and staying top of mind for clients, partners, prospects, and even from a culture perspective, staff, simple, easy, and affordable. You just give us a list of addresses and we do everything else. And, it's not like a one-off gift. Jason's like, think 3 gifts a year for 5 years type of thing. And so I love, for me, the number one thing in my life is relationships. And I'm always looking at ways how to give to my best relationships. And I found no better way than over the past decade to profile the people I admire and share with the world what they're working on in the podcast and send them sweet treats in the mail. So check out rise25.com or email us at support@rise25.com. I'm super excited to introduce Jason Fishman, the CEO of digital niche agency, DNA, where he's spent more than 15 years helping founders really turn complex growth challenges into clear, actionable marketing strategies. And DNA is, as I mentioned, investor and user acquisition marketing agency. They worked with over 450 brands, including 200 plus fundraising campaigns that have produced 9 figures of capital. And so you could check them out at digitalnicheagency.com. Jason, thanks for joining me.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for that intro. Excited to be on. I can't say enough nice things about gifting as well, too. As a marketer, shows your audience you're thinking of them.
100%. So just start off, I'm going to share my screen here for a second and just talk about Digital Niche Agency and what you do.
Absolutely. So I started DNA as a growth marketing firm. My background's in advertising, was part of different startups here in that ecosystem in Los Angeles. We were talking about the social gaming company that I was a member of the founding team. So the capital raise process, everything around user acquisition and brand sponsorships. So I started this marketing agency and found capital raising was always part of the discussion with our clientele. Hey, can you work on the marketing section of our business plan, a pitch deck, a first campaign that once successful, we're going to present the results to an investor and get them to scale our investments. They'll be able to put money into the marketing budget. So around 2015, I learned about Reg D 506C, which allows for solicitation of accredited investors. With my advertising background, was able to run ad campaigns to high net worth, high household income audiences, saw success, was introduced to more issuers. That first campaign raised over $2.83 million. It was a company called Rayton Solar. And then Reg CF, Title III of the Jobs Act, regulation crowdfunding went into law in May of 2016. Hard to believe it's almost 10 years now, but that allows us to target anyone, including a brand's existing customer base, to come in and invest. Retail investors, accredited alike. We've now worked on over 500 of these deals. As you mentioned, raised 9 figures of capital. Actually, have raised collectively over 9 figures of capital just on campaigns in 2025, and going to be doing a year-end breakdown of that. Can talk about how this works. You can see on our site here, I like to begin everything with strategy. There's a model I've built called the 8-point plan. I lead workshops on that. And then those strategies activate across 3 areas of content, advertising, and outreach. And I'll tell you, it's a game of driving enough traffic at a high enough conversion rate, looking at the average investment values to hit the full goal. If we're talking about a Reg CF campaign where you can raise up to $5 million, actually completed a campaign this week that hit the full $5 million level. Only a few of those hit those benchmarks a year industry wide. I can show you the traffic, the milestones that need to be reached, but it all starts here in the strategy process. And believe it or not, it's a step that many groups miss.
I do want to, Jason, break this down a little bit with this 8-point plan and go deeper in there. But I want to start with, you experienced this firsthand with the gaming company. What are some of the challenges that you experienced firsthand raising capital at that time? Because I think it was around $6 million that you all raised at that point. What were some of the challenges?
So it was around 2010, kind of coming off the 2008 crash. And let's just say capital is not plentiful, even in Los Angeles. I created over 75 versions of the pitch deck for the social gaming company. We were successful with securing 3 million, but there was just so many inefficiencies along the way. And it was really limited to the existing network of the founder, of the founding team. We met some different, broker dealers and partners that were able to make investor introductions. But you could really see some companies are only getting funded because of who they know. And I was witnessing, just going to events in this area, a lot of amazing products, companies, teams that had no eyeballs on them. Investors knew nothing. So that's part of what I love about Reg CF. That's part of what I love about these investment vehicles, is it democratizes access to investors, to funding, to capital for CEOs, for founders. And then on the other side of the table, those same individuals who are investing, they have growth stage companies presented to them, private companies. You hear the stories of, oh, if you would have invested in Facebook in 2005 and what that would have looked like when they went public. Those opportunities are not available to everyone to invest into, at least not historically. Now, a lot more of that deal flow is presented to the public. It's a marketing exercise, so connecting the dots. And when we're talking about strategy, that's what you're doing, is you're looking at competitor marketing audits, audiences, channels, creatives, partners, projections, so that you know what goals you're playing for. You're not shooting in the dark. I always say, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. You're kind of assuming, hey, this may not work. Or if you build out a full, I call it algorithmic roadmap, the chances of success are that much higher. You're asking yourself the questions that you would be asking mid-campaign if it's not working, before it even goes live. So could go into those details, could talk about how it launches, could talk about the channels that are the most impactful, but it really all begins in that planning, in that whiteboard discussion.
Oh yeah, we'll get into that. And I'm interested from a pitch deck perspective. It changed 75 times. I'm wondering what, because obviously that translates to all the stuff you help the companies with to optimize when some investor actually hits the page, that it's speaking to them, it's working. What were some of the changes that were impactful in those 75 iterations of the pitch deck that you found worked?
So the offering pages today are essentially a vertical pitch deck. Whether we're talking about that deck or any of these pages, first and foremost, social proof, third-party validation, being able to say, hey, these companies, these partners, these investors, these users think we're amazing.
I'm going to pull this up, Rise Robotics, just as you're talking, because I'm sure a lot of stuff you're talking about is incorporated into this, which I know your company has helped with. We're right now, if you're listening, we're on wefunder.com and we're at Rise Robotics. So anyways, keep going. Yeah, the social proof, love it. Keep going.
Yes, and just to explain this briefly, and then we'll look at the social proof on the page, you can see over 15 million raised. Now, if you go over the little information bubble, that's broken down in a Reg D and a Reg CF. Just want to explain the significance of what that means. On a Reg CF, you can raise up to $5 million. This campaign is now oversubscribed at 5.05. And then there's another 10.8 million that was raised on a Reg D. If you recall in the history, the Reg D, that's accredited investors only. So you could do a side by side and raise more than the $5 million amount. And this is a robotics company specifically around hydraulics. We're looking at an image of a truck being lifted with the hydraulic system here. And throughout the video, throughout the page, we'll see different examples of social proof. People don't believe what they see online. The more times we hear the same information from the more trusted sources, the more we believe it and the more confident we are, the more we take it as fact. So you're able to craft the narrative. This is all the investors are seeing. This is the centralized location for all of the information. So you get to craft the way they look at the company, the team, the industry, the product, the growth of the space, of the vertical. You can see in some of the highlights below, total revenue, how this technology is faster, more efficient, Guinness World Record for world's strongest robotic arm prototype, social proof right there with Guinness World Record, obviously earned. But you could also see 22 million raised from different VCs. It includes Techstars, MIT's The Engine, and Fortistar Capital. Also world-class team. Again, speaking about the individuals behind it, getting more confidence established there, talking about the market, as well as collaborations. We see the U.S. Air Force in there, Gates Incorporation, Danfoss and Gates Corporation, 20 plus global patents. So immediately get your attention. Shows,
Like this is
hey,
legit.
This is real
You know
deal.
what I mean? Like, yeah, everything points to social proof. Totally. What else did you iterate in those pitch decks that now kind of makes its way to Rise, something like Rise Robotics?
I think those highlights are a big deal. That's what you want, continually present throughout the pitch deck. But it's storytelling. Here's the problem. Here's the solution. Here's the product we've built. Here's the team behind it. Here's the reception from the audience. Here's how the industry's growing. You have different limitations on a Reg CF around forward-looking statements, but the pitch decks often include different types of projections. Have to be a little careful around compliance here, and you get everything approved by a FINRA-regulated portal such as WeFunder or a broker-dealer lawyer to ensure that you're following all the rules. Those are investor testimonials that we scrolled by. Here's the team that's behind it and the CEO that they brought
Investor
in.
testimonials. I see. Yeah.
So King's Crowd Capital invested 10K on the Reg D. The engine put in $3 million, and they're explaining why. There's a direct quote around it. Speaks very loudly.
And we have team, and then we have some other elements down here too.
And so we drove advertising to this offering page. We've built our own databases at this point. I was mentioning third-party data. I now have a list of over 1.8 million historical equity crowdfunding investors. I'm able to target them with ads, drive them directly here. The ad creative mirrors what's on the offering page, but with strong, highlights, what could be said in a few words versus a few sentences. There's a whole discussion around that. And then it's a numbers game of driving enough traffic, getting a high enough conversion rate at an average investment amount. On Reg CF, the average investment last year was $1,500. So you're looking at over 3,000 investments to hit $5 million in most cases. Rise, you could see 2,792 plus investors underneath the total investment amount. Some of those investors participated multiple times, so I could tell you the amount of investments is higher than that, but it paints a picture that you're going to need, potentially 150,000 plus visits, where if you're getting a 2% conversion rate and seeing 3,000 investments come through, you're seeing good numbers, good analytics, but a lot of groups fall short on the messaging and then the traffic strategies to get enough people to that deal.
Yeah, it's interesting. It says the minimum investment is $250 on this platform.
Yeah, the issuer gets to set it commonly between $100 and $500 on a Reg CF, sometimes as high as $1,000 on a Reg CF is still common, but relatively small investment amount. I could tell you that the founders get a lot more value than just the capital itself, a marketing campaign to get enough traffic there, being a big part of it. Also, as you can imagine, with over 2,700 investors, not speaking specifically to this campaign, but you'll get different opportunities for press, strategic partnerships. I've seen merger and acquisition conversations. I've seen franchise inquiries, all different types of opportunities emerge from new shareholders.
No, I love that. And that's part of actually the 8-point plan that you talk about. Let's talk about the strategic part. I love partnerships. I think it benefits both parties. It's a win-win situation. So talk about, I don't know if there's an example out there where, because I could totally see that creating a strategic partnership, right? They have stake in it, and now they collaborate more because of that. Is there a good example you could think of, even if you can't name company names, of, someone partnering up and helping
Sure.
each other because of this? And it could
I
have been
could
an
t-
investment of like $1,000. Who knows? It doesn't have to be, but now they have a stake in that company, and you feel like you do have ownership.
yeah. As an example, there's a company called Crowdscale. Kevin Fulmer writes his own blog, his own email newsletter, puts in an investment, maybe closer to the minimum investment in many cases, but he'll then talk about his investments to his follower base. And that's really what we're looking for in many cases on the strategic partnerships
This is it right
is,
here.
yes,
Okay.
it's administrators of audiences that reflect the target market pool. And if they get content out about the deal, it could mean a volume of investments to follow. There's a variety of different investor newsletters. Some of them, the investors pay to receive the content. There's one called Investor Place that featured one of our clients, and within the matter of a week, couple weeks, it was over $1 million came in investments after they were featured. There's other investor newsletters that you pay to get featured. Some have advertising placements, Robinhood Snacks as an example. So, full spectrum of different publishers would be included in that strategic partner list. But even just someone who has a LinkedIn group, a Facebook group, an in-person event, what have you, could be good to reach out to, share what you're doing, see if there's any ways to collaborate. Could be co-branding partnerships as well too. I've seen investor shout out swaps, so even reaching out to other issuers and having them talk to their investor base and returning that action. A lot of great things come out of strategic partnerships. It's actually how I've seen campaigns move the fastest.
Yeah, I mean, and this is for me, Jason, instructed to any company. I don't care if you're raising money, if you're just trying to grow your company with, customers, clients, this all applies. So let's talk about the 8-point plan a little bit. So you talked about strategic partnerships. Maybe we just start with number one, because that's probably where you start with the company when you're like, yeah, Jason, this sounds great. We want to blow this out of the water on, Start Engine or one of the other platforms. Where do you start?
Yeah. I analyze pitch decks for different ad tech opportunities for accelerators we work with, sometimes the portals. And it's funny to me how many groups lack a real marketing strategy, whether it's towards their go-to-market and growth milestones, whether it's towards their capital raise, which we're focusing on here. I'll hear answers along the lines of, yeah, we're going to do some social media posts and maybe engage influencers. As a marketer, that means nothing to me. I need to know the channels, the traffic, the projected conversions, even better if there's, some different case studies and metrics from tests that have been run. I get asked, what does a marketing plan look like? And this is my answer to it. This is the model I've built. Again, I lead in person and digital workshops around it. And the strategy I've designed as a system that takes 1 month to put together, 4 weeks, 2 sections a week, 8-point plan, all encompassing. I've done it in 4 hours during a workshop. I really recommend 4 weeks, even if you're doing it at home and have different checklists online from different workshops and webinars I've put out. But the first week, research, industry overview, and target market profiles, target market audits here. So I'm always finding new
That's like the
stats about
key
an
audience
industry.
persona development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the industry overview, I'm always finding new stats on a vertical, no matter how well a founder, a CEO, a marketing team understands their vertical, there's always more stats to pull. It gives my team a better understanding. It gives the marketers internally, if it's being done at a client's office on their own, more to pull from. And we're going to be able to use those stats in the creative at a later point, but you want to have a pulse on what's going on in the industry right now. I'm generally looking at 2 to 3 different verticals. So as an example, we looked at Rise Robotics. Perhaps it's robotics, as well as hydraulics industry. I then do a third around Reg CF. I want to know the stats, what's happening in real time. I then want to start to map out the target audiences as I'm looking at applicable information there. And I like to break them down to the persona level, as I mentioned. So who is going to invest in this campaign? Is it a WeFunder investor? Is it someone who is following robotics publishers online and closely? Is it someone who works in the automotive space and uses hydraulics on a daily basis? Someone who's invested, has these types of companies in their portfolio right now. And I like to put together an image, a fictional name. I want to know what they do on the weekends. I really need to know where they go online, as well as who influences them, what makes them move forward. If I could get an understanding of other types of advertising that they have converted from, I can really do a better job at putting together a marketing campaign that's going to resonate with them. So in that first week, breaking that down, we'll meet with the client, show them the slides we've put together, have a discussion around that, and then it moves into the competitor audit, which to me often has the most takeaways in the strategy process, the most aha moments, if you will. So I want to look at those 2 to 3 industries and pull out 2 to 3 different companies that are operating in that space. So for Reg CF, as an example, we'll look for the most applicable Reg CF regulation crowdfunding campaigns. So other robotics campaigns, I could tell you about other robotics clients that we've looked at, even introduced. We're working on one on Start Engine. It's the fastest moving Reg CF on Start Engine right now, called Greenfield Robotics. So when I'm talking about competitor audit, it's okay, how much traffic do they get to their site? Where is that traffic coming from? What demographics of audiences are going through their site? What are they doing on social media platforms? You could go to Facebook ads library and see a Facebook ad for any live campaign. You can look up any live Facebook advertising campaign on Facebook ads library. So I can look at what ads they're running. Success leaves clues. Test, optimize, scale, something I say a lot. If they're repeating a channel, it's telling me they're scaling it. It's working for them. So what aspects of the Facebook ad really stand out to me, from the headline to the text to the image or video, the call to action? I want to look at search engine marketing websites, get an idea if they're bidding on search ads, what their Google ads look like, if they're live, what organic keywords they're ranking for, how much traffic it's driving for them. I look at platforms like Mild that show me email newsletters, email newsletters they're appearing in. Again, financial email newsletters are a big part of the marketing stack for these types of campaigns. I'll look at who's talking about them in the news. I want to understand exactly how they're obtaining market share, both so I know what I'm competing against, and also going back to that target audience to understand this is what the investors I'm going to be marketing to are seeing directly after our advertisement. This is coming across their desk. So I don't want to shoot in the dark. I need to know what's in the marketplace. So that competitor audit is crucial to launching a marketing campaign. And I could tell you, most issuers don't do that. Maybe they looked at 1 or 2 live deals, but they didn't analyze their marketing, and they're kind of just running one channel or another and seeing what's popping up.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I just searched Start Engine. I don't even know what would show up here, but it just gives you a lot of interesting data, competitor analysis here. I don't know if these are companies. Is this something that will you look at the different platforms to see how people are running ads on Start Engine or some other platform like
Yeah.
that? Yeah,
Yeah. So there's a few things you could do. When you search Start Engine, this is now showing advertisements that feature the word Start Engine in the ad.
right.
You could type in Reg CF, Reg D. You could click on Start Engine's page when you do that drop down, see the ads that Start Engine is running from their page. But we're looking at a coffee company here, Cartel Roasting. I saw Hard Cut Vodka in there that's got Dolph Lundgren from Rocky IV.
Right.
It's his vodka company. So you can see the actual ads that are running to the Start Engine offerings right now.
And so when you talk about competitor analysis, what other things do you like to look at? So Facebook, I have the ads library, and what else?
So I usually go on a platform called SimilarWeb to get an idea of the traffic. There may be a sign up on that. Another one I mentioned, which you can access for free, is Milled, MILLED.com. And there's email newsletters. So you could type in Start Engine, see what's popping up there. But you do this competitor audit and really get an idea of how these other issuers are seeing success. You can then start mapping out the channels and the creative. So the creative, the ads, the content, and then what channels they're going to go into, both paid and organic, both with advertising and content marketing. So if you type in on the keywords there, let's type in Start Engine, see what pops up. So Blackout Coffee, Final Hours, that's their email, Go Sun, Baby Quip. These are live campaigns. You could see what's going out in the email newsletters. Now, I will tell you some of those are featuring their product if I'm looking at Baby Quip. But if we're looking at Blackout Coffee, that's directly around their investment and likely even the letter to audiences around, let's say, an e-commerce campaign, there'll be a mention of the Start Engine campaign of the investment opportunity there. Um, I'll look at different issuers and often see paid email newsletters, Dollar Flight Club. I'll see, 1440 different email newsletters that feature the investment opportunity.
Yeah, Jason, this is awesome. This is really cool. So after the competitor audit, then next the creative.
Yes. So creative, less is more in terms of the messaging. There's a method I follow. A friend of mine, Ryan Folan, three-time TEDx speaker, created the 313 method where you break down what a company does into three sentences. You then do an exercise to move those three sentences combine into one sentence, and then a bigger jump to break that down into three words. Very tough to do that, but at the same time, I can remember three words. As soon as it becomes four, as soon as it becomes five, six, it starts feeling like I need to write it down. But I can remember three things. I can remember three words. And I need the audience that I'm going after to understand what the company does so well that they feel comfortable investing. It can't go over their head, as well as have them repeat to their friends, their family, their first degree network, even if it's just to justify the investment. But what I'm really playing for is social sharing. So the crowd effect is really based on these marketing channels, these traffic sources bringing investors in, and then them referring other people to the deal. So perhaps you're seeing a strong return on ad spend. Maybe it's a 10x return on ad spend, but instead of spending 10% of the total raise on marketing, if half of the investments come from social sharing, come from referrals, it cuts your marketing budget in half. And it's more indicative of a successful crowdfund. Hey, I'm golfing with my brother this weekend. Take a look at this AI company. Take a look at this robotics company I just invested in. It's really interesting. That work you do on your car? Imagine, an AI hydraulic system and different applications and how it's being used B2B. I need to be able to explain to people around me. So if I'm making that easier with messaging that's very memorable, very repeatable, if that's living in the advertisement and that's crafting the perspective, at least the first impression to a prospective investor on what a company does, I'm going to be in a better place. So you're finding creative that's grabbing, showcases that social proof, that third-party validation, and then driving people to the offering from there with ads. You then have to determine the creative for the content, the social media posts, the email drip systems, email newsletters. We're just looking at a few of those. The long form content. I recommend a monthly webinar, an article every other week. One of them just recapping the webinar, a weekly update on the update section of WeFunder or Start Engine or whatever portal you're on. We just took a look at those too. Press release, podcast appearances, PR, paid press in many cases. It's typically going to be 7 touch points or more before an investor converts. Target audience likes to search around, do their own due diligence. You want to be intentional about what they see, craft an experience. while they're making their decision-making process. And imagine if they're looking at two deals, one has nothing on their social media pages, that they're non-existent in the news, and the other has a community behind it. And a post goes out and there's 200 different comments from the audience. It says something very differently to someone who's evaluating the deal. So you want to utilize all these channels. I could tell you statistically, a good content marketing funnel produces a higher conversion rate. So you determine the creative that's going to go into the content calendar, living across each of these channels, the creative that's going to go into the advertisements, and then pinpoint which channels you want to prioritize to run those on.
I don't know if this is everyone else's favorite, but obviously personally, I just want to jump right to the channel recommendations. Obviously you just pointed out, it's not going to work unless all these other pieces are in place, right? From the analysis to the profile to the, audit to the creative. But you mentioned some of the channel recommendations. What have you found are kind of the 80/20, that you start with? And obviously all of it has an effect. What are the top ones that you like to start with?
Sure. Happy to answer that. I do want to point out that the strategy moves in sequence. So we're not determining the channels until we have seen what channels work for the industry outside of investment crowdfunding. There could be some opportunities to go after investomers there, people who are customers of your business, prospective customers, and then want to invest. So we want to tap into those channels. If it's B2B, ambassadors, but still, where is that content being consumed? So we want to really see where the conversations are living before just jumping into channels. If I'm on a call, if I meet a founder at an event tomorrow and they say, hey, what channels should I run? I really want to walk through this strategy process before just, pulling from the hip there, from the holster. That being said, I could tell you meta advertising, it's offered as a service by Start Engine. Dealmaker is a platform that allows for self-publishing. A big recommendation from them is both meta advertising as well as paid publisher appearances. Dealmaker, they recommend email newsletters such as Morning Brew. I had mentioned Robinhood Snacks and 1440, The Flyover. A lot of these email newsletters you'll see as a constant on the campaigns there. There was a few issuers that you could see here: Energy X, Picasso, Misa Robotics. So you can see robotics is a common theme of what we're looking at today, but it really reflects what you read about in the media. A lot of the top campaigns are what's moving in the mainstream at the moment. But meta advertising, those paid email newsletters, podcasts are becoming a bigger and bigger part of the equation. Different types of publishers that go to entrepreneurs as well as investors. Mode Mobile, I could tell you it was some of their publisher appearances that really moved the needle for them. So your own content channels and then some of these advertising placements.
Yeah, I know you have a webinar and people can check out digitalnicheagency.com and I'm sure they could sign up for your webinar there, but you kind of do a top 20 campaign. And one of them is Mode Mobile, if you want to talk about that for a second.
Mode Mobile, first of all, product's amazing. They have a mobile phone as well as a software, an app that can be used, on any phone, essentially any major phone, that allows you to actually earn money from your mobile phone usage. So think of your screen time and how much
my kids will be
of
millionaires.
Your days spent on this, and definitely recommend looking into it.
The amount of time my kids spend on this, they're going to be multimillionaires. Yeah.
There you go.
No,
get them set up.
Penny by penny. Is this it? Modemobile.com?
Yeah.
Right,
and then if you click on the investment opportunity in the top right, it's a great offering page. Great example here. We worked on the Regulation A Plus campaign. So I went over 3 different types of filings briefly. The Reg D is accredited investors. Reg CF, you could raise up to $5 million from both retail and accredited. Regulation A Plus, you could raise up to $50 million. So they had a first goal that completed. It was successfully hit in May of $45 million. They then were able to do an extension, got over 50 million. They did a $4.8 million Reg CF in 3 weeks in September, and we're now working on the Reg D. I've worked on all 3 of those. The Reg D is just to accredited investors. You could see on this offering page a lot of social proof.
A lot of social proof.
Fox,
Yeah,
there's that
totally.
1440 and Morning Brew. There's Raging Bull, Robin Hood Snacks, Business Insiders. Okay, everyone's talking about these guys. If you scroll down, you get to see bonuses, invest at this level. Here's how much extra you get. And there's even a sliding scale. So you can see how many shares are coming in. If you scroll further down, you can see how they're a number one Deloitte fastest growing software company in North America, as well as their revenue numbers, how many users they have, where you can buy the phone, their growth chart, and what they experienced in early, 2019, 2020, 2021, the way things progressed from there. Talking about the problem and the opportunity here and some different comparables. This is that vertical pitch deck I was referring to, and how you're able to really make the investment opportunity and potential come to life compliantly. Diversified revenue streams, everything that breaks down why this is a good investment. This is a good thing to partner on. And they have over 50,000 investors at this point. Over
It,
50,000
it's amazing.
individuals own stock in the company. You have to imagine, I was talking about more value than just the capital itself. Every time they put out an announcement, a percentage of those 50,000 investors want to share it, whether it's verbally or on their social media accounts, in some cases on their blogs, on their newsletters. So this is really a textbook campaign. You could see more thought leaders talking about how amazing Mode Mobile is. Steve Wozniak, one of the founders of Apple, discussed with Dan Novaez how impactful, how big of a deal what they're doing is. You can pull different quotes from the industry. So that was a quote from Elon Musk, really about the growth of the industry, different info from the team here, and reflecting the channels we discussed. A lot of newsletter placements, advertising, and scaling towards channels that are working, such as Meta, and very strong creative all the way throughout the funnel.
I'm curious, Jason. I mean, this is one of the things. It's obviously a very compelling offer as well. How much do the people you work with, do they have their offer dialed in? Are you helping them shape the offer? How does that work?
Sure. So full spectrum of different needs from issuers, the brands that are issuing shares here. That this company much further along in terms of their messaging, their creative. We were really brought on for meta advertising, advising on different pieces of the funnel here as well too. The meta advertising on the Facebook advertising pixel over 29x return on ad spend from September to May. Every $197 spent on ads, an advertisement was tracked on the pixel data on Meta. So high performing ad campaign, over $5,600 average investment, high for this space from that advertising traffic. Other groups were working on their style guide. We're working on the entire offering page builds. Their team built this. We were advising all the way throughout the campaign. But some groups come to us with virtually nothing. Others say, hey, run these ads to spec, usually somewhere in between. And we have an in-house creative studio that's building advertising for every campaign, including this one. But the needs could change based on how far along a company is. If they have an internal marketing team, if they're working with other agencies, if we're the only marketing team, the deliverables, what's showing up in our project management boards differ.
And, so channel recommendations, you mentioned a bunch. Strategic partnerships, we talked about how important that can be with this. And then what about projections and activation?
Sure. The only way to measure is with numbers. I, as a marketer, am very connected to those projections, the analytics, the metrics. I like to build an algorithm. Impressions, clicks, conversions. How many times an ad or a piece of content has been seen, how much traffic it's driving to an offering page, like what we just looked at, and how many conversions are coming out the other end. There could be mid-funnel conversions, a webinar sign up, some type of email submission. But at the end of the day, how many investments? What's the transactional value? Based on what was spent, what's the marketing efficiency ratio or the return on advertising spend based on the channels? I could tell you on a Reg CF campaign, you want to shoot for a 10x return on advertising spend. The average investment on a Regulation A plus campaign is a bit larger. I'd like to see closer to 20x return on advertising spend by the end of the day. Reg D, you're talking about maybe 100K higher average investment amount. So a little more hit or miss on the digital marketing side, but could be 40x or higher. CFOs, CEOs, they want to focus on that number, but it's really the building blocks, the earlier stages of the algorithm that dictate what that calculation really looks like. So you have to be buying advertising at a good CPM, a good cost per thousand impressions. It's a Roman numeral M, a good click-through rate, and based on the media price, a good cost per click. And then the traffic, if you're seeing a 1%, 2% conversion rate, and then looking at average investment values, what that means. This is important not just to align with your team, with your agency, with your portal, what have you, on what's possible, what's available, what's going to come out the other side. But if a channel is underperforming, you want to be able to pinpoint where in that algorithm the numbers are dropping off, and then be able to focus optimizations at that stage. It's all about managing campaigns to a point of effectiveness versus writing off a channel too early. I could tell you many channels we've run for many campaigns haven't worked right out of the gate, but what we do to optimize and get them to produce is the difference from an issuer that's able to hit the full goal and one that is in the 50% of issuers that really don't produce much. On Reg CF, 50% of the issuers last year produced $114,000 or less. Only 7% hit $1 million or more. Only 5 of the 1,408 Reg CFs hit $5 million or more. So there's a ton of great success stories. But those metrics aren't always shared. You can go to a website called kingscrowd.com to look up any of these. And if you're running a capital raise online or about to use one of these exemptions, one of these vehicles, definitely recommend spending a lot of time doing research there and finding the closest comparables in your industry. But the top issuers, that top 10%, those are the ones that get all of the capital. And those are the ones that are marketing the most. That's why that competitor audit is so important. Here's some of the top campaigns from this week. Rad Intel we're working with, and their $12 million Regulation A Plus goals hit earlier this year. They're now playing after larger amounts. Fanbase is the largest Regulation A Plus on Start Engine at the moment. So you could go in as an investor, see all the deal terms, and then as a marketer, research further to determine what they're doing to see those types of numbers come in. If you go to markets, there's a weekly funding report. If you go to funding reports right under markets, you could also go on to the advanced search and look at all the Reg CFs, all the Regulation A Plus campaigns to date. The next tab down on markets will show you the market reports, and I don't believe you need to do a login or anything like that. Yeah. So there's a weekly report that pops up here. Quarterly, I look at the annuals quite a bit, so the 2024 insights, but you can look at how much is raised across all of the CFs every week, from each portal, from each issuer. Again, a lot of misconceptions in the space. So basing it on the actuals, you're going to be able to build a campaign that makes the most use of your time. The time clock is definitely staring at you on these types of rounds.
Jason, first of all, I just want to thank you for sharing your knowledge, your insights. People can check out digitalnicheagency.com. Where can people check out the podcast? And also, I know you do webinars. People can sign up for those. Where's the best place to go on your site for those things?
Sure. So if you submit a submission on our site, we'll make sure to connect you to the next webinar. We do a monthly. So December 30th, it's going to be a 2025 year wrapped, playing off the Spotify concept, but it'll show our top 20 campaigns from the year, all 7-figure, 8-figure campaigns. If you go to YouTube, youtube.com/@digitalnicheagency, you'll be able to see all of our webinars to date, podcasts. There's playlists for the podcasts and webinars, guest appearances, other educational content I've put out. So over 220 episodes of Test, Optimize, Scale. My podcast can be found there, each with different guests. I've had members of Start Engine and WeFunder and Mode Mobile and Rad Intel and a lot of the issuers we've spoken about on the podcast. And you can reach out to us through the site with any questions. We love talking marketing.
Everyone check out digitalnicheagency.com. Jason, thanks so much.
My pleasure.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sailing right now. I'm feeling like 100 grand.